Good morning. So this is the start of another reading vlog, and I found that the books that I have been most interested to pick up recently have been a continuation in different series, which was one of the cards that I drew, one of the Fairy Loot Tarot cards that I drew with different prompts on them. One of them that I drew in my last TBR, I'll link that below in case you're curious, was continue some series. And so that's what I've been doing recently. I started by reading Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer. This was the last book in the Southern Reach trilogy. And so I was going to start my vlog as I was reading that, but I realized that I was just super confused about what was happening, and I would not have been able to say anything coherent about my thoughts on that one because I was just confused. I really liked the first one, and the series has just gotten more and more confusing as I read. If I ever decide to try it again, I'll probably try it physically, maybe force myself to slow down a little bit as I'm reading it. Maybe that'll help, or maybe that series just isn't for me, and that's okay. So I didn't start the vlog then because I wasn't sure what I would say, and I realized that this would also be maybe not the best concept for a themed vlog because there's only going to be so much I can say with later books in a series without spoiling things, and so I'll try to be very careful. I'll try to give my thoughts, but I'll try to be very, very careful about how I do this vlog, but I hope it'll still work. So I've been reading two other books recently that are continuations of series. One is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is a continuation of the Grishaverse, the original trilogy. The first one is Shadow and Bone, of course, and I would like to watch the Netflix adaptation, but I would like to read a lot of books in the Grisha, most of the books in the Grishaverse first. And so I wanted to continue with this series. And this series, if you're not familiar, follows Alina Starkov, who is a young girl in the army, and she is a map maker in the army, and realizes there's a kind of a mysterious area called the Fold that has some magic involved, and it's kind of an area that's just like a void, and there are these magical creatures that are in it. She realizes that she has a specific kind of power that could be very impactful in trying to help her world and try to help take down the Fold, or end the Fold, end this void, this area of the world that is just like cloaked in shadow. And so she realizes she has this power. She goes to the palace, or a palace essentially, to be trained in her abilities with some other Grisha, and meets the Darkling, and she, through her training, she's starting to learn a little bit more about her powers, but it's kind of a struggle for her at first. But she realizes that there's more going on with some of the Grisha and with the Darkling than she first realized. And so that's the first one. I'll try to be as vague as I can while still continuing my thoughts about the second one so far. The second one definitely does feel like the second book in a series, and I'm definitely still intrigued. I have had a fun time listening to this one. I've listened to both of them on audio, and the narrator is very good. I really like her. So I've been listening to all of these on audio, and I've definitely had an entertaining time listening. So the second one kind of follows her searching, I'll just say it follows her searching for some things that are going to be key to her being able to harness her power. And so, she's finding some magical objects, and so, it involves a lot of traveling. So that's part of it. It involves her traveling to find some of these objects. And so she has kind of gone off to search for some of these. She meets some other characters, including an iconic character in this series, in her travels. And, there are some circumstances through her running from some certain people and being protected by certain people, but at a cost. And so she's trying to figure out who she can trust as she's traveling to get these objects, and she ultimately is able to, she also needs to kind of harness some of the military forces that are in this world. So she was part of the military, and she's realizing that there are some forces starting to work against her. There are some people who support her, or support her cause, I guess. And so she's trying to marshal as much military and magical powers as she can, both from herself and from military forces that are in this world, and from some other Grishas. And so it also follows her with these military forces and kind of getting accustomed to having more power than she's used to having. And it's definitely interesting. Some of the character dynamics have been changing throughout the second one in interesting ways. She's finding out a lot more about her power, and she doesn't always like what she does with her power or who she has become in her quest to retrieve these objects, and in her quest to get as much power, both just in terms of being able to control things politically in this world, but also in terms of her actual magic. And so she's trying to help as much as she can, but she also doesn't like some things about who she's becoming in that quest for power. So that's a super interesting dynamic in this one. I don't know how far I am into the book. I'm a good chunk through the book, but I'll check in again on it when I'm actually done with the book. The other one that I've been reading is Illusionary by Zoraida Cordova. This is the second book following Incendiary, and this is the, I believe, Hollow Crowns duology. So this is the second book in a duology, and I had such a fun time with the first one. It's just a very interesting world. It's not a particularly unique setup. So this one follows Renata, and she lives in a world where people with magic have been targeted. So I'm in the midst of two somewhat similar in some ways, although very different settings, but like there are some similarities between the two YA fantasies I'm reading right now, which is fine. I'm not actually confusing them in my head. But this follows Renata. People with magic in her world are being targeted, and she has been part of the rebellion. She was actually forced, her parents were killed, and she was actually forced to grow up in the palace, and her powers were actually used for the benefit of the kingdom, or the people who run the kingdom, but they're trying to kill people with magic. So her power was her power was used against her own people, essentially. But she was taken when she was a small child. She didn't really know what was going on. She was rescued by the rebellion. And so when the first book starts, she is with the rebellion, trying to fight against the kingdom. And there is word of this magical device, or this new weapon that the kingdom has access to, that is going to change things for them and help them in their ability to target people with magic. So the rebellion is very concerned about this. So Renata goes back to the palace in the pretense of helping the kingdom again, but she is really helping the rebellion. So she goes back undercover in the palace, trying to figure out what this weapon is and how she can get it into the hands of the rebellion, or at least make sure that the kingdom can't use it. And people with her type of magic, she has a magic that involves memory. There are different kinds of magic in this world, and hers involves memories and being able to take memories from people. And so people with her kind of magic aren't trusted and she doesn't even feel like she particularly fit in with the rebellion. But she's trying to figure out who she can trust. She's trying to figure out what she can do to best help her people. You know, is that with the rebellion? Is that, you know, what does that look like for her to best be able to help? And so she finds out some things that, you know, of course there's some twists and turns, and, you know, she's finding out some more about who she can trust and who she can't trust. And so the second one, again, I'm gonna try to tell some thoughts while being as vague as I can so that I'm not spoiling anything. The second one also involves her traveling because they need to find some key things some key magical objects. So again, again with a tie to the Grisha verse, or people with magic being targeted and needing to find magical objects in order to fight what's going on. Anyway, so she's traveling with a specific group of people and trying to get this magical object, and so it follows her in these travels. The kingdom is trying to crack down even harder, and so you follow them traveling to some towns and seeing the crackdown that the kingdom has kind of pushed recently, and she's trying to do as much as she can to help along the way. And there's a huge tug that she has to try to help the people in front of her as she's traveling, but she also can't draw attention to herself because they're trying to travel kind of as low-key as possible. They don't want anyone to recognize them. They want to be able to kind of slip in and out of places unnoticed as they travel, because the kingdom is definitely hunting them down. And so there's a lot of struggle with her seeing everything that's going on and wanting to help, but trying to figure out, again, what the best thing that she can do to help. Is it to continue what she's doing and be as invisible as possible so that she can try to get this magical object? But if she can help people along the way, should she risk it and bring attention to herself that might prevent her from being able to actually get this magical object? And there are some people who hinder her and her group along the way. There are some people who are helping her along the way. And it's interesting because there are times where she decides to help out, and that is actually what convinces some other people to help her in her quest, because they begin to see that she's really true in her convictions about helping the kingdom, or helping her people, not helping the people in charge, but like helping the actual people in the kingdom from the people who are ruling. And so it's an interesting dynamic. There's of course some romantic feelings. Honestly, the romance in this hasn't been my favorite part personally. It's pretty slow. Well, in the first book, she has already kind of connected romantically with someone in the rebellion, and so I'm just saying that there are some romantic elements in the first one. There are also some romantic elements in the second one, and that hasn't been my favorite part so far, but that's fine. The second one feels a little bit slower than the first one did for some reason. I say for some reason, probably, there are definitely some things happening, but it definitely has felt slower in these travel sections. I'm actually about halfway or so done with the book, so I'm sure there's more to come. There is actually a part where they find another character who has been mentioned before, but we haven't actually met them. They meet this character, and they're currently on a ship, and they're out at sea, which is kind of fun as they're trying to find this object. So I will update as I continue this one and Shadow and Bone. I'm also hoping to continue potentially the Broken Earth trilogy for this vlog, but we'll see. Anyway, I will check in later. Okay, so it's been way too long since I have filmed. Not something I'm sorry for or going to apologize for. I've just been very distracted recently. If he's watching, he knows who's responsible. But I've just been very distracted recently and haven't really been focused as much on reading or keeping up with a vlog, which is totally fine. But it's been a minute since I checked in. I think the last time I checked in, I was almost done with Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, as well as Illusionary by Zoraida Cordova. So I've since finished both of these because it, as I said, has been a minute. So I'll give just like a quick wrap up. I don't remember what I said in the previous clips, and I haven't watched that footage back to give myself an idea of what I said previously, so hopefully this won't be super repetitive and awful, but I'll just give kind of a final quick set of thoughts about both of these books. So I'll start with Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This definitely felt like a middle book in a series to me. There were definitely quite a few slow moments. We're definitely building up to something in this book after setting up the world in the first one, some exciting things happening in the first one. There's some things that happen in the second one for sure. There are some really cool moments, but it definitely felt much slower. It definitely felt like a setup book for the third and final book in the trilogy, which is fine. I mean, it's a trilogy. There are going to be some moments of different pacing throughout the story, and there's a lot that needs to be built up and a lot that's changing about the world. And I like the growth that Alina is going through in here. She's realizing some things about herself and other people. So she's going through some growth. There's some things that are changing, not for the better, about her as well, but she's trying to be aware of those things. Anyway, it was fun, it was entertaining, it was fine. I'm definitely still intrigued to continue on with the third one and see what happens, because there definitely are some intriguing things that happened towards the end, so I'm definitely interested to see what happens in the third book and continue on, and then hopefully continue on with the Six of Crows duology eventually. I definitely overall also very much enjoyed Illusionary, and this is the second book in a duology, so this wrapped up this duology. The first one is Incendiary, and this is by Israel Cordova, as I mentioned, and this one was fun. It was just entertaining. I really like this world. I just think it's fun. I like some of these characters a lot, and I like some of the characters that get introduced in this one as well. There are also in this one quite a few slow moments as they're building towards something, and it definitely kind of felt like there was a lot of time building up to something that didn't actually take much page time in the end to happen. So if that bothers you, then the ending might not be your favorite, but it was fun, it was entertaining, and I'm really glad that I read this one and still read it in time to remember most of what happened in the first one, and just had a really good experience reading it. I honestly could see myself rereading this duology at some point. So yeah, had a fun time with it overall. Nothing that's mind-blowing or my favorite thing ever, but it was definitely fun and entertaining. And I like our main character. I like, again, some of the found family in this second book in particular. Just a lot of fun stuff going on. But anyway, I will check in whenever I have more things to say related to this vlog. Okay, so I just wrapped up my fantasy vlog, and I have now I'm going to unpause my continuing a series vlog. So this is actually the first one I started filming after my latest TBR, and I put it on pause. I really actually intended on continuing with the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, but I wanted to read some other stuff, and I just decided to pause this vlog. And in the meantime, I thought I would get to The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. I thought I would get to that for a separate vlog that I wanted to do centering around pirate books. I thought that would be absolutely perfect, but that vlog is not going to happen. Ultimately, there's just enough going on for some of these other vlogs that I'm not going to have time to do a separate vlog before I want to do another TBR for the fall. So I decided to this still fit the theme of continuing a series. I will continue the Broken Earth trilogy soon, but I really wanted to get to this one. And so I just decided to continue the Liveship Traders series for this vlog instead of the Broken Earth trilogy. But again, this is the second book in the Liveship Trader series, and this is the second series in Robin Hobb's overall realm of the Elderling universe. And so the first one follows Fitz, who's the bastard son of a king in waiting who actually ends up abdicating. Fitz is raised in the palace by the stable hand, and the king thinks he would be a great weapon for the kingdom and assassin. So that follows or that's what you follow in the first series. In this one, you follow some of the port towns, some of the islands, some of what's going on sea, or on the sea, and you follow some of these pirates, you follow some of these liveship trader families that own different live ships. So a live ship is made of a special kind of wood, and when 3 generations of a family die on its decks, it gains some sentience, it awakens, kind of. And so the Vestra family has a live ship has just awakened for this family. They're facing some financial difficulties, and the mom decides to give control of the live ship to the older daughter when the younger daughter, Althea, thought that she was going to take control of this live ship. She thought she deserved to take control of this live ship because she had actually been the one to sail on this live ship for a while with her father. And so Althea's pissed because she thinks it's her ship, and she's like, absolutely not. This is my ship. I'm going to take control of this ship however I can. So you follow that line, or that story arc. You also follow a pirate called Kenneth who wants to take a live ship for himself. There is also heavy themes of slavery in the series. It's a very, very heavy series, but classic Robin Hobb. It pulls at your heartstrings. And so you also follow these pirates who are trying to take control of a live ship, and they're actually trying to go after ships that trade in slaves. And so you follow that crew, you follow the politics that happens between some of these live ship trader families. There's a lot of internal political stuff going on. There's a lot of bitterness between some of these families. There are some new traders that are coming in and changing things, and some of the older live ship families, or some of the more established live ship trader families, don't like it. So there's a lot going on. And this one definitely continues Althea's quest to prove to her family that she can sail, that she can run a live ship, and basically justify her claim to her family's live ship. You also continue to follow some of the politics that's going on here, and there are some ships that are starting to patrol and provide security against pirates for some of these port towns, but they're actually just causing a bunch of problems. And so you follow that, and you follow Kenneth as he continues to go after slave ships. It's kind of hard to talk about a series in the middle of it. But I am over 500 pages in at this point. So it's a 900-page book though, so I still have a minute or a good bit left to read. It'll take me a minute to finish, but I'm absolutely loving the Mad Ship. I think it is a perfect continuation. I'm honestly loving and you follow some other perspectives as well, or other perspectives as well, and some other things that are going on. And honestly, I love everything that we're following here. I'm super interested in all of the parts of this world, and it's great. It's, again, very slow. Robin Hobb's books are all pretty slow moving, but her character work is so good, and I'm fine with a slow plot if I'm following characters that I really like, so that's fine. Anyway, I will talk a little bit more about it later. I need to go, but I will check in more on this later as I'm continuing Mad Ship, and we'll add some thoughts as non-spoiler as I can as I go. Oh, hey everyone. It's been a million years since that last clip, and I think that last clip was the last thing I actually have filmed. Things have been crazy with work. I have moved to a different apartment, and things have just in general been really busy, and I just have not had time to film. But things with work and the move have calmed down. There's still some odds and ends to do around the new place, but things have calmed down quite a bit, so I feel like I can film again and actually hopefully get back into a routine. But I think last time I checked in, I was almost done with the Mad Ship here. and I think I maybe had 100 or 200 pages left, and I don't think I actually have a ton more to add, but I realized as I realized I could start filming that the last thing I had filmed I hadn't actually wrapped up. So I just wanted to wrap this up here and say I absolutely loved the Mad Ship. And there really isn't much else to say on that. The politics is amazing, the characters are amazing. I'm so excited to get to Ship of Destiny up here. And I'm also pretty excited about the other books I got to read for this vlog. I'm excited to continue in the Grisha verse, and I wrapped up another duology. So yeah, it's been a good set of books for this reading vlog. I definitely will have more coming up. I want to kind of catch you up on everything that I've been reading, you know, in the last bit since the last reading wrap up that I've done. And I'm also going to start a vlog for my sci-fi, which is just going to be one book. And then I also want to kind of give it some sort of TBR that I have coming up as well. I meant to do one for fall, and then I meant to do one for October to let you know what I was reading for the spooky season. But hopefully I can get a TBR up soon to say some things I would love to read coming up and just get back in a routine from there. But thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more bookish content, and I will of course leave my Twitter and Instagram linked down below. I have not been active recently for the same reason I haven't been filming, but you can follow me below. That's where I like to hang out, and I will also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.